and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Monster. And it is officially spooky summertime here at Ghouls Night In, and
Yes!
I guess
Woohoo!
also everywhere around the world. Well, not in the other hemisphere, I guess, but
No, yeah.
here in our hemisphere, it is spooky summer. And I don't know why, but summer always makes me think about cryptids. I don't know if it's
Ooh.
the scouting aspect makes me feel like being out in the wilderness and camping and things like that, but
Yeah, I was going to say campfire vibes.
yeah, maybe that's it. Campfire stories. And we haven't had a good cryptid chat in a little while.
No, we
So
haven't.
I thought today we'd bring out another silly little boy to try to determine if this creature is fact or fiction.
Mm.
I also realized in our Mothman episode, we never actually addressed what exactly a cryptid is, I don't think. um, so I thought I would go ahead and just talk about that too, in case you are not a crazed cryptozoologist like Penny and myself. A cryptid is just basically any creature whose existence is disputed or has not been able to be proven by science. So think, Bigfoot and Nessie are probably our strongest, most recognizable examples of a cryptid where everyone pretty much knows who that is. But
Who that
who
is. I
that
know them.
is. But one of my personal favorite lesser known cryptids is a little fella called the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Ooh.
Penny, are you familiar with the Fresno Nightcrawler?
I don't know if I am.
Oh, I can't wait to share him with you.
Yes. Please introduce me to your friend, Midge.
Yes. So this cryptid is unique in the fact that it's one of the very few ones that we have actual video footage of, as opposed to
Mm.
just stagnant images and things. So the first time the Fresno Nightcrawler was spotted on film was in November of 2007 when an individual living in Fresno, California, hence the Fresno
Hey,
Nightcrawler,
makes sense.
who is only known as Jose, the man who caught this, he released backyard security footage of what straight up, Penny, looks like a haunted pair of pants taking a midnight stroll.
Should I Google
I was
this
gonna
or should
say,
I
yeah,
not?
yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, first and foremost, look up the original footage
Fresno
here
Nightcrawler.
and take a little gander at this fella.
Not Fresno Night Creamer.
Oh,
Oh, that does look like a spooky pair of pants.
just vibing. And yeah, so you anyone listening, you can find this footage online, very very readily available. And frankly, to this day, looking at it, I cannot decipher what it is I'm looking at. It's not one of those things where you kind of can easily be like, oh, well, that's clearly a trick of the light, or there's like a reflection over here. You can see his little shadow. You see him just scurrying. It's like, nope, that's straight up a pair of coastal grandma linen pants taking themselves for a walk.
Just taking themselves for their own stroll.
Yeah. So in this original 2007 footage, we see two figures. And the first one is a really tall, super skinny figure. You can barely see the legs on it. And then the clip that's most frequently shown is the second one that comes up shortly behind after. And I think what I like about this cryptid so much is it is very ghost-like. They're described as being around 3 to 4 feet tall, so it's a small boy. And they're all white and have these disproportionately long legs that basically just lead straight into a round head. Actually, kind of reminds me of do you know the Coco the Clown ghost from the
Um,
1920s animations?
I was literally gonna say, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of that
That long-legged
1920s
ghost.
animated ghost. I did not know that was his name, so good to know.
Yes. So yeah, if you've ever
It looks
seen
just like that.
exactly. So yeah, if you're a spooky person, you've probably seen that kind of Betty Boop era ghost with the long legs taking a little dancy stroll. It looks very much like that, but it doesn't have any body, so to speak, of no arms, just 90% legs. It's giving supermodel of the world.
Oh, yes.
I want. I have this idea to edit that footage over RuPaul's CoverGirl, and I want just
I was
him.
gonna say very, very Naomi Smalls.
Yeah,
All the
it's giving
legs for
legs.
days.
Yeah, I just want it like strolling across the screen, like CoverGirl, put the bass in your walk. Um, and then overall, the texture of it seems to be very fabric-like. Is that skin? Is that a cloak? I don't know. Um, but so Penny, now you've seen this footage.
Yes.
You're at home, you're watching your security footage back. Jose has put out these cameras because his dogs keep barking at night. There's been a few reported like bicycle thefts in the area. He's thinking maybe there's intruders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he puts, and this is 2007, so technology is, which even though that's not that long ago, the rapidness with which to like technology developed between 2007 and now, like this isn't a Ring doorbell, this is a crummy little security cam.
Yes.
But you're watching this back, you see haunted pants walking through your yard. What is your impression? What do you do?
Oh man. I mean, I wonder if somebody's laundry has taken off a clothesline and
Okay,
is just
sure.
wandering in my yard now. Has come to
Rational.
life, chilling, walking around. I actually, you know what this makes me think of
Hmm.
is I don't know how. I feel like this is an off-brand Dr. Seuss, like a not common one, but there's a Dr. Seuss story about pale green pants with nobody inside them,
Oh, I don't know.
which
Yeah, I don't know that.
I used to read as a kid. It's yeah, it's like a character being like, I see these pants walking around and no one's inside them and I'm super scared, and he's freaked out, but then at the end it turns out the pants are scared of him. So that's a lesson for all of us. So it very much, I would definitely be like, am I living in the pale green pants with nobody inside them?
I would like to believe that Nightcrawlers are just as afraid of us as we are of them. Well, Jose, the homeowner here, is given a good old spook. He's freaked
Yes.
out, and so he calls the police. Which I would pay
Fair.
so much money to hear this 911 call.
Right.
What do you say? Like, hey, police, there is possibly fabric floating through my yard, and I'm afraid.
I'm very afraid.
But anyway, police do show up. Eventually, people start looking at this footage. No one can explain what they've seen, and it ends up on local news stations, as
Mhm.
you know, as media does. And so, seeking answers, Jose brings his findings to a paranormal investigator named Victor Camacho, and Victor looks at it, runs it by with all these organizations that deal with paranormal investigation, and nobody is able to identify what is happening or whether or not, even whether or not the footage is real.
Yeah.
Now, the thing though that I find particularly interesting about this first encounter is that
The first
the
encounter.
first encounter, I don't know where that accent came from, but is if it is a hoax, if this is faked, why? Because Jose, who, like I mentioned, we only know as Jose still to this day, was very adamant about remaining unidentified. He didn't want his family to be outed to the media. He didn't want to be perceived as kooky. Even though he is interviewed at one point, his face is blurred. Like, he withheld his identity through this entire process, and it was, to this day we don't know who Jose was. And it was also reported that he was so afraid after this incident, which it's definitely unsettling, the footage. It's kind of like, oh, but I don't know if it would have like rocked me to my core. But apparently he was so afraid that he didn't leave his house for several weeks after this incident.
No.
So if it's a hoax, what is the benefit for him, I guess, is my question, when if we're just presenting all the facts here, right? So that's kind of the end of this. We don't really get any information from, like I said, anyone who looks at the footage. Then, March 2011, in Yosemite National Park, which is about an hour away from Fresno, California, park rangers set up cameras to attempt to catch some vandals that were doing youth stuff in the park.
Ah, youths.
Youths. And this is the clearest video we have, which isn't saying a lot because all the footage we have is pretty freaking grainy. But once again, we see two Nightcrawlers together, one big, one small. Feel free to go ahead and look at this footage if you would like, Penny. But again, they're just kind of awkwardly fumbling down the path, and their legs are bending in all kinds of interesting directions. It seems that Nightcrawlers, now we've had two separate videos where there are two of them together. They seem to be spotted in pairs, tends to be one slightly larger and one slightly smaller. So at this point, people also start speculating, could this possibly be some sort of parent and child like dynamic?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it a mom and a baby?
Right. And I mean, I don't know, but I would love to think so, because that's super cute. Like, you know, when you see like a little mama duck crossing the road with her
Right?
babies,
Yeah.
it's just like that, except, you know, an unidentifiable creature.
Sure.
But this footage comes out, and at this point, like, the Fresno Nightcrawler kind of gets adopted by the world as, like, look at this crazy little guy, and everybody's really obsessed with him. Our last and most recent video evidence of the Nightcrawler came out actually just a few years ago in April of 2020. And it was caught on a CCTV camera in Billings, Montana. And you can just barely see like a tiny little blip of what looks kind of like the shape of a Nightcrawler appear on the screen, kind of in the corner, and then it disappears out of frame. But the strange thing with this sighting that makes it different from the other ones is that part of the story that was delivered with this footage was that they had found a deer carcass not too far from where the footage was captured, and so people were trying to link the appearance to the deer, which, at this point, what we know about Nightcrawlers, they seem to just be vibing. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Just going for a stroll, hanging out. That's
kind of part of why I like them so much. Like, they're just chill little dudes. They just want to go for a nice little stroll in the park. But to me, the most hilarious part of the deer angle is, like, what did it hunt the deer with? They don't
Did
have
it
arms.
kick it real hard?
They don't have arms. Like, from what we can see, they have like two black little eyes on their head, but like no mouth. So it killed it with its giant legs. Like, what WWE move did this?
Yeah, just like a flying scissor kick, and then
this
like
3-foot creature takes down a grown ass deer and then like eviscerates it. I don't know. This is positively hysterical to me. The idea that this could have taken out this whole grown deer. But anywho's it. Those are the instances we have of it being caught on film. Allegedly. Yes. But was 2007 the first time that the Nightcrawler existed at all? Maybe not. In 2004, which would be, 3 years before the first film sighting, a 17-year-old boy in Manchester, Indiana, so not in Cal. This is the first time we have a not in California sighting. Right. Saw a creature while he was driving on the side of the road, and described it almost exactly like the Fresno Nightcrawler, with one major difference being that it was well over 6 feet tall, in his words.
Ooh.
And what's interesting,
it's
a big boy. Very, very different from 3 foot small boy. Now, what's really interesting too in this particular situation was that the story is corroborated because another car driving next to him with an elderly couple also pulled over and were like, yes, we also saw that.
Hmm.
And I, I didn't understand, like, I guess maybe one of them went to the news. It sounded like they both kind of pulled over and were like, did you see that?
Did you see? Did you see
Yeah,
the
I
weird
saw that.
legs?
Okay, cool. Have a great night. And then they, like, beep, beep, like, both went about their merry way. Um, but that, you know, is one instance here where we kind of see the first reported um, genus of this type of creature. Similarly, in December of 2014, a 60-year-old former Marine and his wife were driving in Carmel, California. So we're back in California now. Um, and they claimed that they came up over a hill on kind of a winding road and saw a 7-foot tall, slender, grayish creature with long, muscular legs that,
Mm.
quote, walked as if its knees were backwards.
Ooh.
Which, like, if you look at the footage of the white night crawlers, it kind of looks like their legs flow back and forth. If that, like, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem to be like there's
Yeah.
anything in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Could these sightings also be part of the Nightcrawler family? Maybe. The Carmel one is interesting to me because it happens in a similar area. But also, why California? You know,
Yeah.
is there something there that, like a type of wildlife, or, you know, something that could continuously be mistaken for this?
Yeah.
I don't know. So are they real? Let's get into possible theories.
Oh, can I just say, I don't know if this is going to be
Oh
part
yeah,
of
bring
your
it.
commentary, but I think that Nightcrawler is a bad name for these because they are not
They're
crawling.
not crawling.
They should be called like night walkers.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just wanted to lodge a complaint.
Oh no, I had that thought and I even meant to include it and I forgot. I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, why is it called a night crawler? I don't
Right?
know
And then
if
it just makes it confusing because there are already several things, both worms and X-Men, named Nightcrawler. So I think that they should have been a little bit more creative when naming these
what
guys.
was
That
the
is,
nickname for Richard Ramirez?
oh, the Night Stalker.
Oh, Stalker. Okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking he might have been the Night Walker, and I was like, is that maybe why they didn't want to, like,
yeah. I
cross?
mean, it does rhyme, so they may think that that's too close, but it could have been like a. They should have just called him Crazy Pants,
Well, there is
the
like
Fresno Crazy Pants.
the Fresno haunted trousers. Uh,
Yes,
that's a school mascot if I've ever heard it.
for
Um,
real.
I do have to, while we're on this subject, I do have to pause and talk about. I wish I could remember so I could plug the small company. I got recommended this small business on TikTok, and they had a little, like, keychain that said the Fresno nightclub or something, but it was like a Fresno Nightcrawler wearing thigh-high boots and, like, dancing. It was so funny.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but yeah, maybe crawler because they're so low to the ground.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I feel like they are just like, oh, this is a thing that people say, so we'll put that
It
in
does
there. And
make
I'm
them
like, I don't
sound.
think this is an accurate depiction
No, I
of
agree with you.
this.
I agree with you. I do think it makes them sound infinitely more creepy.
Yes.
But also, like, they're not very creepy. I think they're hilarious. uh, but sure. So yeah, with that, let's visit some theories about what could be going on here.
Yes. Theory Town.
Theory Town. So, like I mentioned, and as we talked about in our Mothman episode, of course, there are people who think this is a bird.
It's always gonna be a
It's
bird.
always
It could
going to
be
be
a
a
bird.
bird. Put a bird on it. There are lots of people who think this could be an albino crane. Cranes are
Mm-hmm.
known for having some wonky leg action.
This is true.
I will say, looking at the footage, I don't think this theory is for me. It's clearly very flowy in the leg region.
Mm-hmm.
And while we could maybe hypothesize that those are like its wings hanging out, I don't think so.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
personally
feel
gonna
like
nix the bird theory.
yeah, and I feel like birds are not known for being like thick on the bottom. So like a bird leg is pretty usually a
What
skinny
size are
leg.
your legs?
What size are your legs? And I don't think that a bird leg is the size of a haunted pants leg.
Right, yeah. These are pretty clearly like bell bottoms. I don't
Yes.
find that to be a theory that I resonate with. Um, so the next thing that stands out here also is that we can't really I forgot to say this before I got into the bird thing. We also can't really identify where any of this footage has come from.
Yeah.
Like, we know but we don't know, like,
Yeah, we know where it's attributed to.
yes, like, we know Jose and we know Yosemite, but there's no tracing back where this footage came from. So with that being said, the top theory is that this is a hoax, and
Hmm.
that specifically that the Nightcrawler itself is some kind of puppetry work.
Yeah.
Now, the renowned sci-fi show Fact or Faked.
Ah.
I don't know if you remember this show.
Oh, I yes.
It
Oh,
was,
yes.
yeah. If you don't, it was pretty short lived. It only ran for 2 seasons on Sci-Fi. It was like a kind of paranormal investigation version of MythBusters. Like, they were
Yeah.
trying really hard to be MythBusters, but like with guys from Jersey. Uh, but they were brought on the scene for the Fresno Nightcrawler, and did an episode on it and tried to recreate the footage using puppets. That and they ended up calling it a mystery. They said that
Hmm.
they were unable to duplicate what they had seen in a way that matched the footage, and so they were like, "Well, we don't think it was this, but we don't know what it was."
Yeah.
Um, However, I also watched a YouTube video by Para Breakdown, which is a YouTube channel that does something similar. They try to debunk online videos of different phenomena, and
Hmm.
he actually recreated it very well.
I was gonna say, I'm like, well, how good of a puppeteer are you guys? Like, I
Right.
feel like this is a broad like level of like knowledge and
Yeah,
skill that you might
bring
be
in
able
some
to do.
people with a theater degree and see if we can recreate this.
Right.
But he used like a zip line and some fishing wire, basically. So it was,
Hmm.
rigged up top at the head, and then he's kind of pulling on either side with fishing line to get it to, quote, walk. Um, Now, I do want to say that his video was made in 2015 by a person who edits video for a living.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying that it couldn't be a hoax, but also, again, as we said earlier, the difference in equipment that people had in their homes in 2007 versus 2015 is pretty staggering.
Yeah.
And the original, like, the original Nightcrawler tape is on a VHS.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about time wise. So to be able to film that and then like edit it in a way where you can't see the wires or anything would be pretty impressive for like an at-home editor in 2007. Um, the Yosemite one, I am a smidge more skeptical of. The movement of the night crawlers is very puppet like.
Hmm.
Like, they have kind of a awkward, jaunty walk.
Yeah.
Um, so I think this is a probable explanation. However, I am a person who likes to believe in things, so I'm going to choose to say, no, it's not a hoax. And then, of course, everyone's favorite theory. Can you guess what it is?
um, is it not escaped pants?
It's not escaped pants.
Not escaped pants. See, and I would have said a bird was the favorite theory, but we already talked about birds.
Aliens, Penny. It's
Oh,
aliens.
alien. I thought you meant another like
Oh, you're like, I
non-mystery
thought you
theory.
meant something real.
I thought you meant another like normal explanation. All right, yes, of course, it could be aliens.
It could be aliens. I think this is funny. I mean, I am a to the shock of absolutely no one listening to this podcast, I am a believer in aliens. And so I like this theory. I like that they could be little visitors from somewhere else.
Sure.
If so, though, what are they doing here, and why are they just walking around?
just came for a
They
walk.
just
They're
get,
like,
like,
oh,
I'm bored.
well, I mean, that's what people do in Yosemite.
That's
They're like,
I
oh, the humans go and walk around here. We're gonna go walk
They're like
around here.
mimicking behavior. I
Yeah,
feel
like,
like coming to Earth would be like the human, like the alien equivalent of like a Target run. You know, like when you just like are bored and you want to go take a lap somewhere and just not be home.
oh, that.
That's
See, I was gonna say that it's like going to like Burning Man or something, where you're like, I'm just gonna leave all of like the trappings of my modern alien life behind and go to this wild and wacky world called Earth.
not the trappings of my modern alien life. That sounds like a TLC show.
I'd watch that.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of there's also I'm gonna bring it up because it's, if you go and do your own research about this post listening to this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna see 100 different things about how Native Americans believed that these were fairy spirits, and that there's these crazy statues of nightcrawlers that appeared and nobody knows where they came from. I have looked through this theory again and again. It doesn't resonate with me,
Yeah.
and it seems like people trying to use indigenous culture to explain away something.
Yeah.
Who are we to say if the indigenous people believed in this or not? I have not found anything that actually connects this to a native tribe or anything, so I don't believe that to be true at all. So I'm Midge Munster, and I'm here to say I believe these are just some little alien creatures hanging out in Yosemite. If I had to venture a guess, I'm going to say, Penny, that you probably think this is a hoax.
Yeah, probably. Although, like, I will say, like, my thought, like, kind of when you were describing the whole setup is not necessarily that, like, Jose was hoaxing, but, like,
Ooh,
maybe it was,
someone
like,
was
a prank
pranking
being
him?
played on him
Ooh, like
kind of thing.
neighbors
And
were like,
then
why has he got his security
they're like,
camera
right,
out?
they're like, LOL, it's 2007 and there's a security camera. Like, let's do a
Mm.
funny thing. And then once it was like, people were talking about it, obviously someone else was just like, ooh, I bet we could do this somewhere else that like spooky cameras were set up. But
Mm.
I don't know, you never know. I mean, maybe it is a real thick bird. just a bird
A
with the thickest
man-like
legs you
bird
ever
creature
saw.
something, yeah.
I did see, so when I was googling and looking through the image search, I saw someone saying that maybe it was a deer on its hind legs, and I was like, what are
Which,
you
like,
talking about?
is so much more haunting to me than any
Right,
cryptid could ever be.
right. I'm
Like,
like, one, terrifying, legitimately. Two, it doesn't look anything like that. Like,
yeah,
that is
also, like,
clearly
deers
not a
have
deer.
antlers, question mark, and
Right,
this
and also they have torsos,
arms.
like they have whole
they
bodies,
they
not
have
just
so
legs.
many so many things that this
So
does
many
not.
body parts.
You don't have to rub it in the Nightcrawler's face, all the things that he doesn't have.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is just a 1920s animated ghost that escaped from his cell animation and is hanging
Haunting the
out
world.
in the real world.
Well, and so this was also why I even brought up Coco the Clown, is because that also, to me, I was like, well, could this have been inspiration for somebody who like saw that as a
Mm-hmm.
kid and thought it was
Yeah.
creepy and then was like, I'm going to try to remake something like that captured on film. That kind of, especially because that had been around for so long, that kind of resonates with me as something that might be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
um because otherwise I'm like, why would you create, because it's like clearly not supposed to be a ghost because it's got little legs. So
Yeah.
like, if you're trying to create kind of this creature, why haunted pants?
Why haunted pants? Maybe they're also a
Was
big
fun.
Dr. Seuss fan and they're like, pants with nobody inside them.
There you go. That's Penny solved the mystery.
Yep. Dr. Seuss knew what was up.
He did the whole time.
As we discussed in the Grinch episode.
Well, I'm so glad that I got to be the one to introduce you to the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Me too. Those are delightful little guys. I
Yeah,
enjoyed all of the. I was gonna say once we were like, oh, they're not really scared. They're kind of cute, which I was slightly, I would say biased towards, since when you search them, you see a lot of like really cute like illustrations and like
precious
little
little art.
crocheted ones, and they're
Yeah,
very
they
precious.
kind of. It's also like kind of giving like adipose from Doctor Who, like
Yes.
just cute little white babies.
Yes.
Um,
They also remind me a little bit of the little forest spirits from Princess Mononoke.
oh, I
A
haven't seen
little.
that.
Oh, well, they do have heads, but they're just like little like white bodies with like heads with like blank open like eyes. They're cute.
Oh, yeah,
Cute but a little
they're
spooky. So,
the that being said, yeah, if you find the Nightcrawler to be endearing and you want to, you know, give him a little goog, you will find all kinds of adorable art and things of him just living his best little Nightcrawler life.
good.
And the internet has definitely adopted him as one of their favorite spooky little boys. So he is precious. Let us know. What do you think? What are your theories?
Yes.
If you're from Fresno, have you ever seen a Nightcrawler? I would love to know about that. Uh, and if you agree with me and you think they're real, let's join forces and take down the skeptics. Well, that is my episode about this little guy. If you are enjoying Ghouls Night In podcast, it would mean the world to us if you would consider leaving us a rating or a review wherever you listen. If you are not able to leave reviews where you listen to us, you can always send us a message on Instagram and let us know your thoughts, and we'll read that here on the air as well. And I think Penny has an Instagram submitted review to read today.
I sure do. This review comes to us from Cryptid Crow on Instagram.
Oh, how
Uh,
fitting!
yes, I know. I was like perfect. Who says 5 out of 5 very spooky stars. Penny and Midge always talk about the most fascinating subjects, and it's always so much fun to listen. My favorite podcast. Cheers to the ghouls.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Cryptid
much, Crow.
Crow. Yeah, they are a long time. I feel like I've known Crow for quite a while over on
Yes.
Instagram, and they are wonderful. So thank you for that. And it's nice to hear from you, especially on a cryptid episode. What a great
Mm-hmm.
little fit. If you would like to submit your own Instagram review or just to follow us for more content, you can find us on Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod. And if you're looking for me, you can find me across the web at Midge Munster.
And you can find me at Penny Snark.
And until next time, good.